Welcome everyone. Let's talk about thought forms and why it's important that you do these in a particular manner. And this is what we talk about centering as well. If you don't have clear thoughts, you're not going to get clear manifestations. You know, the old saying with computers, junk in, junk out. Well, it's the same thing with your way of using your thought forms. Now, there are particular ways to do this. And these are important, and they've shown that manifestation is at a much higher level when you do it correctly, obviously. Now, thought forms do hold bioenergy. There's a very minor electromagnetic aspect to it. It's just really tiny. What it really is a bioprojection. This is a special type of energy that subtle energy physics that all of these kind of tools work on. It is not a electromagnetic. We've talked about this in the past, and I gave a little bit too much credit to it, but there is a very small amount. But what you're doing is when you use electronic equipment, you are actually using it as a carrier wave. And we often, of course, that's why we use photon tools, otherwise known as lasers. Photons are energy that when you put them next to or shoot the photon through something, you're picking up the energy that's there. This is tried and true science, by the way. This is what fiber optics is and what they've used for phone services and many other things. So you actually put a voice into, into a laser beam. It goes down a plastic wire. Remember, it's not using metal. There's no electromagnetism to it. And then it comes out the other side, which is translated into voice, etc., or any other information. Very, very important for everybody to understand, and I don't think people get it, and I haven't emphasized it enough over the years. Now, what do you do here? Now, this is your classic low-cost radionic manifesting cell. This is what you get. It's a nice, thick metal cell. This doesn't have the gold on it, and it doesn't have your cosmic code, and as such, you have to direct it to a particular person to make sure that it works at the level. But we'll get into that as well. But this is what you get. It's a beautiful heavy metal when you get this particular. And remember, it's not just this image you're seeing here. There are hundreds of machines inside of here, amplifying images, etc. This is the gross image. Inside here is a very complex and specially put together energetic field. So don't think that that's it. It's that simple. Basic symbolic plates don't work very well if you don't have the other components to them. They're very low level energy things. So anything symbolic, if it isn't a special design like we offer, they're not good. They just don't have the punch. And of course, you want to try and electrify as much as you need to amplify everything, which is why it's so important to have an amplifier, etc. And we'll be showing those in the near future here as well. Excuse me. So, but you got to put clear. Now, anytime you state something, you state it as actually it has already happened. Now, why do you do that? Well, it hasn't happened already. Well, you do that because there is no way for your consciousness to understand things happening, process of happening. I mean, your mind works on pictures that are generally pictures of something that has happened, that is complete. So if you said to yourself, well, that's a glass of water, well, you wouldn't picture a pitcher of water being poured into a glass. You would be seeing the glass filled. This is very important to understand. So when you picture something, let's say you wanted to manifest a glass of water, you wouldn't visualize the water pouring into the glass and then you using it. You would see a complete glass of water. Your consciousness doesn't understand things that are forming to become complete of what you desire. Does everybody get that? So, your bioenergies are seeing things as it is complete, and that's why you have to state that If you kind of confuse your bioconsciousness with half-made stuff, maybe it's going to happen, it could happen, seeing pieces of a puzzle. Well, if you wanted to complete a puzzle, you wouldn't see the pieces. You would see the puzzle completed. So that's why it's very important. So when you make statements, you always make statements as if it's happened. I'm enjoying that $5,000 that I have. That $5,000 bought me that new stereo system. These are the kind of things that you want to state there, instead of saying, I'm going to buy, when I get. Well, what do you mean when I? What does when I get mean? How do you picture when I get in your consciousness? What kind of image is that? When I get? You're going to picture a dollar coming every day until it adds up to 500? I mean, that's the kind of nonsense that you get into. And that's one of the problems when people do particularly money rituals. You have to state in a money ritual an amount of money. Because you can say, I want money. You go on the street and you find a quarter. Well, that's not really what you wanted. But as far as your consciousness understands, you said, I want money. So you have to be specific to the amount. And of course, you want to get as close to that amount as possible that you manifest. Excuse me. So, and here's the antenna broadcasting symbolic system we have. And there's hundreds of antennas in here and other amplifiers that are on there. It's not just this antenna. It's not just this picture here. So the fact of using this is not going to work for you if people think they want to try something like that. Thinking that they can, I don't know, save money or whatever. I mean, these are tools you invest in for the rest of your life. This is not something you're going to use for a month or two. You always use this for anything you want to manifest. So the whole idea is that, and these are way underpriced, by the way. So the whole idea is that you want to state things like you have them because that's what your mind understands. Let's get close here so we can look at this a little better. So the energy goes in here and goes out here, basically. And you'll see that this is a complete circuit of flowing in and out. So a lot of things have broken circuits, and that's a problem. And of course, here we go with a large symbolic broadcasting antenna, and there's a broadcasting antenna behind here you can kind of see. But as I said, all of these have hundreds of built-in empowerments. So, and of course, we usually, depending on when someone's watching this, but usually we have an eye here. And that's important too, because with the other cells, we tell you to look at the eye first, but with this, you look at the eye last. You put the energy into it, and then you focus on the eye for a few seconds, and you've drawn the eye, because the energy is going out here. You've drawn the energy into you, which now starts to manifest, as well as broadcast it out so that the cosmos can start working on it. So, but it has to be clear. If you say, I want a house, what is that? A shack? A mansion? You got to say, well, I want a cottage, a one-bedroom cottage. And then you don't say, I have a one-bedroom cottage I enjoy living in. And while you're stating that, you kind of picture it in your mind. You've got a living room, a kitchen, a bedroom, and so forth. So that's what you're doing when you're stating something. So you don't state if, ands, or but, as I just did. You can see how hard it is to say this sometimes. You have to really think on it. I want. Well, wanting is not something that your consciousness understands. Your consciousness only understands what has been manifested. So I hope everybody gets that, and I hope they understand why you have to be very clear and distinct on what you want. The worst thing you can do is be very unclear in your projecting out there, stating I want, if, and you're picturing a non-completed item. And as such, your consciousness doesn't understand it and can't manifest it. How do you manifest something being built and in motion? And then how do you put a time element on that? It's just like money. So the bottom line, if you say, I want money, well, what is that? Is it 25 cents? You're going to find $20 in your pocket? Well, the ritual is over with then. So you have to state a figure that you. So And you don't state I want, again, here, then I go again. So you can see how easy it is to fall back in that as people think. But when you're doing it, so I'm enjoying the $500 I just manifested to purchase the stereo I now have. Okay? That's the kind of thing you do. Or I'm enjoying my new Volvo that I manifested. It's great to have this new car, and I'm enjoying using it. And that's what you do here, putting your thumbs on the side, and then when you finish, look into the eye of it, and you're drawing the energy to you. But as I said, state everything in that way. And as I said, it's very easy to say, I want, I need, all this kind of stuff. Your consciousness doesn't understand that. So you have to be really careful of that. And it's very easy to fall into that because we've been brainwashed to ask for something. I need, I want, mommy. Well, it's very easy to fall into that, and you have to stay away from that. When you state something, if you want to, write it out on a piece of paper before you actually state it. And so you have a clear description of what you want. So write it down, then state that, put your thumbs on the unit, then look at the eye, and you've drawn the energy into it, and it's being broadcasted. Now that's your basic level of doing everything. This is your basic entry-level radionic tool that can be used for everybody, by the way, because it doesn't have a cosmic code on the back. So what you'd have to do now, if you weren't holding it, if you're holding it and sending energy to yourself, it's obvious. Now, you can use this to send energy to somebody else by stating their name at the end of what you're doing. So, if it was going to Bill Smith, he'd say, Bill Smith is enjoying the new car that he has now. And you can do this and send it to it. Bill Smith is now at optimum health. So this is the way you can do it to send something to somebody. And this kind of energy, but you're going to have to define it. If you don't define it, well, there's a problem of where the energy goes if you want to send it to somebody else. If you're doing it for yourself, there's really no need because you really are doing that. You can state that. It's probably maybe a good idea. I, Bill Smith, am enjoying my new Volvo. So that defines it. And, the more you define things, the faster and easier manifestation is. So I hope everybody understands that. That's one of the basic understandings of manifestation, to use correct terminology so that your higher self, your bioconsciousness, can manifest it in a clear way and manifest exactly what you desire instead of unclear thoughts because you haven't been clear about it. Centering really assists this. If your brain isn't in a centered position, and if your consciousness hasn't been activated by using the many gym tools that we offer, well, this is all limiting your empowerment. But these as a basic tool are fantastic. They're low cost and can get you going right away. Now, there's higher levels to all of it. And higher levels mean using greater amplification for your thought forms so that they can manifest quicker and faster. And what are your blockages? You've got a lot of blockages. And if you just try and break through it with your own bioenergetic fields, that's a problem. When you use an amplifier and a transmitter, well, things radically change. Now, we're going to show you how this is used with everything in the near future, amplifiers, transmitters, etc., so people understand the system better. Hopefully this is clear. If you have any questions, well, we're always open to contact.